Hey everyone, today we're going to talk about something that's super important for every apprentice out there, safeguarding. We're going to break down exactly what to do when something just feels wrong, how you can report it, and what your rights are. The whole point is to make sure you feel confident and supported in your role.
You know that feeling, right? That little voice in your head, that gut instinct that tells you a situation is off or that maybe someone is struggling. Well, in the world of apprenticeships, learning to trust that feeling is honestly one of the most valuable skills you can have.
And this is probably the single most important thing to remember. You don't have to be some kind of detective. You don't need a folder packed with evidence. Safeguarding is all about catching things early. If something feels wrong, that is more than enough reason to say something.
So let's kick things off with that foundational idea, trusting your instincts. We're going to dig into why that gut feeling is so important and how it's really the first step to creating a safe and supportive workplace for everyone.
Think about it like this. What's the worst that happens if you speak up and it turns out to be nothing? Well, nothing really. The concern gets checked out quietly and that's the end of it. But what's the worst that can happen if you stay silent? You could miss a critical opportunity to help someone who really, truly needs it. When you look at it that way, the choice is pretty clear.
Okay, so you've listened to that little voice and decided to speak up. Now what? The good news is it's a lot simpler and way less scary than you might think. Let's walk through the actual steps.
Every single apprenticeship provider has a specific person for this, called the Designated Safeguarding Lead, or just DSL for short. This is literally their job. They're the person who's been trained to listen to concerns and knows exactly what to do next. You should have been given their contact info during your induction, but it should also be really easy to find on your learner portal or company intranet.
And this just shows you how simple it can be. Find out who your DSL is, get in touch with them, and then just talk. You don't need to have some perfectly worded formal statement prepared. You can just start with, "Hi, I'm a bit concerned about something," and then explain what's on your mind. That's it.
And hey, if for whatever reason you can't find the DSL, or maybe you just feel more comfortable talking to someone you know a bit better first, that is absolutely fine. Your tutor, your line manager, someone from the HR team, they are all great options. They have a duty to listen and to pass that information on to the right people. The most important thing is that you tell someone. Don't keep it to yourself. Right. This is where a lot of the anxiety can kick in. People think, if I report this, what's going to happen? Am I going to cause a huge drama? Let's clear the air and look at what the process is really like.
I love this slide because it shows the gap between our fears and the reality. You might worry you're about to be put under a spotlight in some formal interrogation, but what really happens is just a confidential chat. You might be scared of getting someone into trouble, but the whole focus is on getting them support. And that big fear of office-wide drama, it's just not how this works.
And let's be crystal clear on this. Confidentiality is absolutely central to this whole process. Your concern will be handled carefully and discreetly. Information is only ever shared with the absolute minimum number of people who need to know in order to help. The goal is always about protection and support, never ever about punishment. In fact, you might be surprised to learn that most of the time, the solution isn't some big dramatic action. It's often about giving someone early support. You know, simple things like connecting them with well-being services, maybe finding them a mentor, or even just making a few tweaks to their workload to take some pressure off. These simple supportive steps can make a world of difference.
Now, it's also really important to know what your role isn't. You are not a detective, so please, don't try to investigate the situation on your own. Don't confront the person you're worried about, and don't try to gather evidence. Doing any of that can actually make things way more complicated and potentially unsafe for everyone. Your job is simple but vital. Notice things and report them. That's it. Let the trained professionals take it from there.
So we've talked a lot about your responsibility to look out for others, but that's only one side of the coin. Safeguarding is also about understanding and protecting yourself. So let's get into your rights, because knowing what they are is incredibly empowering.
And here they are, plain and simple. These aren't just nice ideas or suggestions. These are your fundamental rights as an apprentice. You have the right to be treated with respect, to work in a safe place, to have a fair workload with good supervision, and to have a healthy balance between your work and your personal life.
This is such a powerful quote, and it's so true. If a task or a situation feels uncomfortable, unsafe, or just wrong, you have the right to say no. That doesn't make you difficult, it doesn't mean you're not a team player, it means you're being a professional and setting the kind of healthy boundaries that everyone is entitled to.
Okay, but what if you're worried about what happens to you if you speak up?
well, you are protected. It is completely against policy and often against the law for you to be punished or treated unfairly for raising a genuine concern. This is what's known as whistleblowing protection, and it exists to make sure you can speak up without fear.
So, when we pull all of this together, you can see that safeguarding isn't just one person's job. It's really a team effort. It's a shared responsibility that, when we all take part, builds a much better and safer culture for everyone involved.
Think about it. As an apprentice, you're on the ground, working with your colleagues every day. You're in the perfect spot to notice the little things. You know if someone who's usually chatty seems withdrawn, or someone seems really stressed out. A simple, "Hey, you doing okay?" can be the first step in getting them the help they need. It can make a huge difference.
And that's really the big takeaway here. Safeguarding isn't about memorizing a rule book. It's a mindset. It's about building a culture where we all look out for each other. It's about choosing to be aware, choosing to be kind, and finding the courage to speak up when our gut tells us something isn't right.
So, I'll just leave you with this to think about. It doesn't have to be some grand, heroic gesture. What's one small, simple thing you can do this week to help create that safer, more supportive culture? Because every little act of awareness, every moment of kindness, it all adds up to build something much, much stronger for all of us.